The awakening of the Eon Protectors was a surprise to everyone. We thought that after the Bacan Station war, no more fallen empires would try to reclaim their lost glory, but it looks like we are mistaken. Shortly after their awakening, the Eon Crusaders declared a war on the Stormhost of Rias, which meant that they were now at war with our entire Federation and our allies were at risk. Since the Assembly of Independent Planets was established, we stood for democracy, equality for all, and freedom. After 2 centuries, we brought peace and security to many corners of the galaxy, and we would not allow the Eon and their dictatorial doctrines to disrupt galactic peace. We have already devised a plan to defeat the Crusaders. The Eon's space was vast, and their territory stretched all the way up north. The northern parts of their territory luckily weren't very well secured, so we sent our capital ship, the Yaris's Warbridge, and a small squadron of fleets to the Eon station borders. Their core systems, along with their capital, were situated on the southern edges of their territory, squeezed between the Gibber Consensus and the Castilian Republic, so we decided to attack them from 2 fronts. We used the Elgates to send our fleets to the battlefield. One group would attack from the Gamoxhal system and the other one from Therif. However, there have been some issues we had to consider. The systems near the Eon's core territory weren't secure enough, and we needed approximately a year to send our forces, but overall, we were optimistic. With new Gatekeeper-class ships and advancements in Stellarite weaponry, we had a technological edge over the Crusaders, and even their asteroid artilleries wouldn't do us any harm. While our fleets were on their way, the Eon Crusaders had already begun their offensive. They took several systems from the Castilian Republic, including Pasifol and Gamoxhal. The Gibber Consensus not only lost some territory, but one of their colonies, Quen Girkham, was destroyed by the Eon, leaving nothing behind besides shards. However, without a doubt, the Socian concern had the most severe losses. Their homeworld and its moon both have been cracked, leaving the Socian without their 2 largest population centers. We could have saved them, however the Warbridge arrived too late and there was nothing we could do. This was truly a tragedy. The birthplace of the Socian civilization and culture had been turned into tiny shards, and a huge part of their population was killed. The Cetacean people were outraged, and they wanted justice. Most of them compared this event to the Orsian genocide during the Bacan Station War, where the Reclaimers destroyed almost all of their colonies. Luckily, our forces were getting closer and closer, and the Eon would soon feel the bitter taste of defeat. The Eon Crusaders continued to push further into Castilian space, and they entered the Taldmal system, where we faced off the Eon forces for the first time. Although the Crusaders tried their best to defeat us, we still emerged victorious, and later we returned the captured systems back to the Kessotir. Meanwhile, the Warbridge has recaptured most of the systems taken from the Socian concern, and the final showdown took place in the Kuf Sum system. This time the Warbridge arrived on time, as the Crusaders were ready to crack yet another colony. A month after the battle in the Kuf Sum system, our fleets finally reached their destination, and we are ready to strike. It is the right time to start attacking their core systems. We have our fleets over here on the 2 edges of their territory, so now we will attack the right Jot system, and these 2 fleets will head towards the Beloris system. The Beloris system was relatively easy to conquer with no additional defenses built. The starbase was quickly disabled. The Rajot system, on the other hand, had 2 additional asteroid artilleries built, but still we were able to win. These 2 systems were really important, as they allowed us to attack the Pentigus system, the heart of the Eon Crusaders. We attacked this system from 2 sides and turned the starbase into rubble. Following the successful Battle of Pentigus, our fleet split into 2 groups and conquered the rest of the Eon's territory. With their space fully occupied, it was time for our armies to do their job. We first landed on Beloris 3, a small agri-world with very few armies on its surface. The invasion went pretty quickly, with our Liberty gunships obliterating their armies. Shortly after, more of their worlds fell into our hands. Kroririn 3, Rajot 1 and Tomvorgakla 1 were now under our control. However, we still had 2 colonies left to invade, the Celestial Throne and the Sky Temple, the core worlds of the Eon Crusaders. Compared to their other colonies, they had more armies, and their capital even had a planetary shield which reduced damage done by bombardment. The invasion of the Celestial Throne and the Sky Temple was a lot more challenging, but we emerged victorious, and without any colonies left, the young crusaders fell, marking the end of the war. In 2430, the assembly of independent planets gathered in the Pentigus system to partition the newly gained territories. The northern territories were divided between the Malacubes and the Commissariat of Rosbruka. The core systems got partitioned between the Gibber Consensus and the Castilian Republic, and the rest fell into the hands of the Stormhost of Rias and the Sosnian Concern. The war was finally over, and everyone was relieved. However, little did everyone know this was only just the beginning. Several of our tracking stations have picked up peculiar subspace echoes coming from somewhere in intergalactic space. The echoes are faint but getting stronger, and they seem to be approaching our galaxy. Aliens across the whole galaxy started to panic, and even the Caucasian Forerunners decided to awaken after millennia spent in dormancy in order to protect the galaxy from these intergalactic aliens. Sometime after we were able to determine their approximate landing location, the echoes were moving in closer and closer, and suddenly the aliens appeared. They were unlike anything we have ever seen before. Their ships were made of a flesh-like material, almost as if they were organic. We tried to establish communications, and we saw a creature with a giant eye and many tentacles, speaking an incomprehensible language. We started to worry as the invaders were really close to our territory, and immediately we sent our nearest fleets to deal with the intergalactic invaders. The intergalactic invaders, now known as the Pretheran Scourge, continued their conquest. They conquered Rosbruka's territories near our border, and the Democratic Rocadian Accord was next. Although their technologies weren't so advanced, they still managed to repel their invasion of the Kralois system. However, the Anthendes system wasn't so lucky. Despite the Rocadians fighting really well, the Anthendes bastion eventually fell, and the Scourge started infecting the Borough of Ruins. While we were absent, the Pretheran already claimed a couple systems, and they were ready to settle new planets. However, they were running out of time as their fleets were ready to strike. Our Stellarite weapons were proven to be deadly against the Pretheran, and one by one their outposts fell and fleets burned into crisps. The Pretheran were almost defeated, however we haven't seen the last of them yet. Out of nowhere, new fleets jumped out of intergalactic space, but this time they were larger and stronger, and although they were a lot more powerful than the average Pretheran vanguards, they still weren't immune to our Stellarite weapons. It seemed like the Scourge had run out of reinforcements. The last fleet station, the Anthendes system, quickly turned into crisps, and the Pretheran were banished from the galaxy for good. The galaxy breathed a collective sigh of relief, and the last significant pockets of the Pretheran Scourge were expunged. Their extragalactic invasion has failed, and all that remains of the Pretheran's once colossal swarm are the innumerable charred husks that now drift quietly through the void. From a fledgling civilization to a galactic superpower, the United Station Republic brought democracy to many worlds and managed to establish galactic peace, bringing the entire galaxy together. With its advanced technologies, powerful fleets, and libertarian ideals, the Republic is on a path to greatness. Will it manage to keep its superpower status and spread its influence to other galaxies, or will it eventually fall? Only time will tell. Thank you so much for watching the second season of the Stellaris Modded Roleplay series.